gonna make a video on what I think about. I could talk about a bunch of things. I could talk about advanced placement class, advanced placement program. Instead of talking about advanced placement, because that's a series of courses, or just lawsuits. Just take one course that from the College Board. But theoretically, it's mostly in the United States. So we're gonna be talking about um, study abroad, sort of. Because I had made a video on something like that in the past, and typically it costs a lot of money. There are plenty of people who fundraised money from other people, or they didn't spend a single dollar of their own money, except for maybe things like passport fees or whatever. But visa fees, that's not that much. There's typically a study abroad program is at least a lot more than just $100. It's definitely the thousands. So it's because there are other fees for other things. So and of course the tuition. It's a bunch of security based things just because somebody needs to be the tour guide for the then there's the host parent part and stuff like that. Let's just make a video on should you do a study abroad program. Is it worth the money? I don't have any qualifications or credentials. I'm just, this is just my opinion. Um, should a teenager do a study abroad program? Assuming that the parents have to host the family for the again, it's a two-way exchange. Not always, but most of the time. So, is it worth the money? Um, you know, you know, like, it's hard to say because let's say you're from an upper class family, then the money that is spent is very not much. It's equivalent to maybe like a birthday gift or an allowance. For someone in a lower income household, like middle class, lower middle class, or even lower than that, study abroad program, is about as asking as paying college tuition, meaning it's a significant amount of money, and typically you may come with an obligation, and it's like maybe it's almost like a loan almost. So regardless of the type of person you are, is a study abroad program worth it? Because for the upper class folks, money is not the issue. The issue is if it's worth the time and energy. And obviously, for the lower income folk, it is a lot of money. It's a big investment, equivalent to you know starting a company. Typically, the business loans are far a lot of money in terms of. Anyway, or it's like investing in stocks and hoping that you don't lose the money from you know just investing in the wrong company. So, uh, is it worth it? A lot of people make these kinds of they think about it and they decide not to pursue study abroad programs because they consider the risks greater than the reward. It just completely makes sense. It costs a lot of money, and there's certainly a bunch of dangers that can come out of it. Are there any? Is there anybody who participated in a study abroad program and exceedingly done well? And of course, I could read. I read a book from Tim Ferriss where or maybe I watched one of his videos online, and he discussed his story of going to a study abroad program when he was in high school. And Tim Ferriss is one of them. They're quite a successful author, and he has a bunch of interesting lifestyles. He has a very interesting. So that is obviously not everybody will have that kind of experience. So that is a so there are definitely examples of people who regretted their um, decision to study abroad, especially in high school. College is different. It's different in college because like a lot of people have studied abroad in college. I should have I forgot the examples for that, but like can't remember. I think Lisa. I think that one of the daughters of Steve Jobs, Lisa Brand Jobs, study abroad in college. It's different in high school because studying abroad in high school is very different because um, obviously you're using your parents' money, or if you're fundraising, you're using the fundraisers' money of other people. Um, I mean, there's plenty of teenagers who made a lot of money from various things. Well, that's definitely, but we're not going to assume that it's, you know, I'm going to assume that you're not one of those people. In the lower middle class, you can see that the topic of this video is very, there's lots of components to it. I'm not aware that, you know, like someone from an upper class family, studying abroad is just another one of their extracurriculars. If they are like a high achieving student, if they are not that type of student, then the question is if it's worth the effort and time. And of course, if money's not an issue, then the main issue is safety, and of course, if it's worth the money, or I mean, if it's worth the time, because uh, you know, because it's like there's an opportunity cost. It's obvious that you know, you're not in you're in a different high school, possibly in a different country. The only way you could talk to your former classmates from your old high school is online. I mean, suppose you can't mail, but yeah, you can send a mail. But yeah, that's a lot slower. So, and then you're gonna be in a class full of people you don't know. Mostly strangers. I mean, there's obviously a few rare exceptions, but for most part, it's gonna be strangers. It's gonna be a lot of strangers. You're gonna meet different people, and then they're gonna probably speak a different language unless you're studying abroad in like England or Australia or something, or Canada. Assuming you're in the United States, for example, then most people they go to these high school study abroad programs. It's in a country that they don't speak a different language. So you're going to have to learn a different language, even though there's plenty of people, you know, if your original country is from the United States, then obviously you might find a few people who want to learn English. So, and then there's other questions about preparation. Should you learn the language ahead of time? Most people would pray, you know, put some effort in that before they, go to the airport and depart. So, uh, so there's a lot of components to it. Should you learn the language? Of course you should learn the language. You should definitely memorize like 200 words of that language. I mean, obviously you need to learn more than that, but it's definitely yeah. You definitely need to know like the basic words. Um, where would you start? You definitely need to know some of the weather, how to say words. You definitely need to know some basic things like the words of food, the words of things like family words. So you definitely need to know basic things like yeah, it's taken a foreign language class a while, so I'm trying to remember what it's. You definitely need to know those basic things before you learn the more advanced components. Um, so let's say you already took a foreign language class in a previous, like in high school, or you're currently taking it. Should you go to a study abroad country of that language? Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people would. Um, However, that's another. Oh man, this video